Alright, hello everybody, this is Magic. Gonna be doing some more analysis for you tonight. I just got done my casting like 45 minutes ago, so we blew through like 4 Fuzzy games. I do like to cast Fuzzy, he is a pretty darn good player. So actually, starting off today, we are gonna look at a game that I played. I actually just played this like between my casting and my analysis. So I'm gonna just go over a couple of fundamentals with you guys. I went over the fundamentals. I'd rather show you guys. I kind of went over it as I was playing it, or as I guess I was actually just talking about it. But let's remove that overlay. So hopefully I don't forget that at all tonight. But this is just a game of me playing as Terran against like a very easy computer opponents. I'm just going to keep it on my view so you guys can see what's going on. I wish you could see like where the mouse is and what I'm clicking on and all that, but it's kind of whatever. It's kind of whatever Blizzard decided to do with the replay thing. But starting off, just making SCVs, of course. I'd like to do a little trick so that they mine the closer minerals. You don't have to do that. In fact, don't do it unless like you know the timing for it. Otherwise, you're just going to screw yourself over and you won't have as many minerals. The idea is you want to do it so you get more minerals, but if you do it wrong, you'll have less minerals. So it's really not that great. I just kind of do it to practice for myself and all that good stuff. But anyways, I'm throwing out a supply depot at the normal time and all that good stuff. SVs constantly cranking out. That's the idea here. That's fundamental number one. Crank out SCVs constantly. If you have an extra one queued up, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Day 9 likes to think it is, but it's not until like you're at a higher level that it really matters. Unless you have like 5 SCVs queued up. I mean, that's not good at all. You want maybe one queued up. Like that's the idea here. You just to make sure that you're constantly producing them. So there goes that first barracks down. All right, so now I'm kind of playing the don't look at the command center game. I'm trying not to look at it as much as possible. Just tabbing to it. I have my command center selected, building SCV, selecting or wait. Okay, now you can see what I'm selecting. So now I'm just kind of going back and forth between the command center and the SCV, looking constantly at the SCV until I need to build something. I'm making my barracks. I need to watch for when that's finished. So I'm glancing back at the base here. Excuse me. I am kind of recovering from being sick. I was actually really sick on Friday. Slept all day, made some good uh, onion mushroom potato soup, and I've been eating that yesterday and today, so I'm actually feeling a lot better. But I still have a lingering cough, so I hope you guys excuse me for that one. But yeah, so I'm putting on that supply depot, the refinery. This isn't really looking at what I'm doing right in terms of building construction, like when I'm building stuff, but like just to look at when I'm making SVs. Look at the bottom here a lot. At the bottom where it shows what I'm selected. The barracks, SCV, command center. Just like tabbing through it. You don't really need a lot of APM for this. It's just like a good thing to get into. Unless you're Zerg, it does help a Zerg a lot, but I mean, I would say as Zerg you don't need to do it quite as much. Like it's not as big of a deal. But yeah, just tab into your command center, knowing that that SV is not done yet. I don't need to add on another one, so you don't need to. And just looking at the top right, I mean, that's the other thing. Check your money. Check your money constantly. See how many minerals you have, how much gas, how many supply you have. If you have a ton of gas and no minerals, maybe you want to take some guys out of the gas. If you have a ton of minerals and no gas and you need gas, then maybe you want to build another extractor or refinery or whatever. So there is that kind of thing going on too. So I'm just building out another barracks. I mean, in this matchup, you could just go into a factory, get some Hellions up, and harass your Zerg opponent. But I mean, I'm not really looking at that right now. I'm just saying these are the fundamentals. Looking at the barracks. Okay, I'm making some guys. My 2 barracks hotkey, I have it on 4 and 5. That's just how I roll. You don't obviously need 2 hotkeys for the same 2 buildings, but that's just kind of what I do. So then I have 6 for my command center. So I'm just tabbing between 5 and 6, really, just looking at, okay, what do I need to produce, and going back to like whatever units I'm controlling. At the current present time, I'm not controlling anything, but there is that. So I'm just going to just speed it up a little bit so we can get into a little bit more good stuff. So I'm going to be pushing out here with a few guys. My stim's going to be done in just a moment. So I'm going to be just pressuring while expanding. This is another fundamental thing that people kind of screw up. You want to pressure while you expand. You don't want to attack and like lose all your guys. You just want to see what kind of damage you can do and try to do as much damage for free. You don't want to sacrifice those guys. Try to get every single guy that you send in there out of there alive. That is crucial. Especially as Protoss, I mean, with the 4-gate, a lot of people screw up 4-gate. They go in there with their initial guys and attack. They lose all their guys, add on more guys, and attack again. And it's like, that's not really good. You want to attack with your initial guys, fall back, reinforce it with the new guys, and then you have a much bigger group, which is going to be much, much stronger. So now I am attacking. I am continually adding on guys. If you look at the production tab, I'm adding on a Marauder, a Marine. Looks like no SCV. That's a big blunder on my part. I don't play Terran. I'm not used to this, really, to be honest. There's an SCV coming up. So now I'm going to be taking out the Queen. I took out a Roach earlier, and so now I'm just continuing on the pressure. Since it's a very easy opponent, it's not really, I can do a lot of pressure with just a few guys. So, I mean, don't look at it like that. Just try to get out there in and out, try not to lose any guys. So, obviously, I'm not losing any guys, so it's okay that I'm keeping them up there. I'm actually on normal speed. Alright, so now I'm building on another barracks, and I could obviously build on another barracks. I'm just finishing up my command center, so I'm like, whatever. So now I'm just going to kill off that pool and then run out of there. The idea is I'm getting damage done for free and then getting out of there, and then I'm going to group up with my reinforcements, which actually should be like on the way to those guys. Not. You don't always want to do that, but I mean, that's usually what you're going to do if you're going to continue on to attack. So then I'm going to group up with them. So now they're moving out. It's going to be joining up. I like it's picking off that Overlord that's hovering around there. Maybe not. Maybe just run by. Okay, that's kind of a blunder on my part, but whatever. So I'm adding on a couple of barracks, factory. I'm not getting supply blocked. I'm continually to build SCVs and all that good stuff. I'm actually supposed to be building 2 at a time right now, but whatever. Again, I don't play Terran. Terran's actually, I've only played Terran like a handful of times, so I mean, I hope you guys can excuse me a little bit. So I'm not the best player out there when it comes to Terran. But anyways, I'm just going to be expanding again. I'm throwing down some more pressure, so I'm going to be expanding again. All that good stuff. So just not losing guys when you attack. Expanding a lot. Since I'm going Marines and Marauders, that allows you to expand a lot. I mean, you're going low-tech units, expand a lot. If you're going high-tech units, you can't expand a lot. That's the whole thing here. I see a lot of players kind of, like they go Marine Marauder against Zerg or against Protoss. Well, actually, let's use Protoss as an example. It's a better example. You go Marine Marauder against Protoss, and they have like less bases than the Protoss, and it's like, okay, you're definitely going to lose now because you just don't have the bases for it. If you're going low tech, your guys are going to die faster, but you're going to be able to produce a lot more guys because you're going to be able to have a lot more expansions. So that's the whole idea with that. If you're going mech, however, those are your big strong units, slow pushes. You can't expand a lot. It's harder to keep those expansions, and you have to do big slow pushes. So that's pretty much the fundamental here. If you try to do fast pushes with your tanks, you're just going to die. Same with your Thor. I mean, I guess Thors you can't really push too fast anyway since they move like a snail. So I mean, there is that, but you just got to be really careful with what you do. It's likewise for Zerg if you're going for like Ultras and Broodlords and Infestors and that kind of thing. You can't really do a lot of fast pushes. Same with Hydralisks. You want to do your fast pushes with your Zerglings and Banelings and Mutas. And then Roaches are kind of like in the middle. You can do a lot of aggression with them, but still, I mean, not as much as like Zerglings can. Like you can't just like run into their base and kill off a lot of stuff. But anyways, I'm just gonna exit out of here because there's really not much to see anymore. So I hope you guys get those fundamentals. Number one, just continually add on units. I mean, continually add on workers. Continually, like just work on it. The way you want to work on this is you just play a game normally and just keep that in the back of your head. Just try to think about it constantly and keep worrying like, oh, do I need to build it now? Do I need to build it now? Do I need to build it now? I just keep thinking about it and then just add it on when you can. And then number two, don't get supply blocked. Add on your overlords, add on your pylons, add on your supply depots. Add them on before you need them. It's better to have one too many than one too few, because you're just going to be able to add on more workers then, More workers equals better economy. Better economy equals even better economy. or an economy plus, getting up a whole bunch of units. So like for Zerg, for example, if you drone up hard early on, you're going to be able to produce drones and enough units to defend, and then eventually have just such a good economy you can just overrun your opponent. Um, of course, otherwise you can. Well, if you do early aggression, you got to make sure you know when to stop and all that. But Zerg's kind of complicated like that. Um, but anyways, let's get into our first analysis here. Today I am going to switch it up a little bit. I'm actually going to be doing half the half the replays for analysis. Take like a 15-minute break, and then I'm actually going to stop the stream just briefly so I can save it separately. I don't want to have to do any cutting because that gets messy and it's annoying. So I'll stop it there and then start it again. The reason being, XSplit, or actually it's Twitch TV, only saves it in 2-hour increments. If I go past 2 hours, then it's automatically cut in half, or cut in, at 2 minutes, and then it starts the next video after that. So I'd rather have two nice even splits, or possibly another split, than have like 2 hours and then like 5 minutes. Like that just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm gonna just cut this in half and do it that way. Also with questions, I'm going to be taking questions whenever I cut it off. So I'll be taking questions at the end, cut it off, and then start the next set. So without further ado, let's get into these games. And actually, today we're not doing a lot of Zerg. We're doing some Zerg. We're going to start off with Zerg. Zerg against Protoss. So we have Ragnarok spawned at the top right as our blue Zerger, and his opponent is Moonstruck, who plays Protoss. So it is going to be a Zerg against Protoss from the viewpoints of the Zerg. And so let's get into this. Actually, I don't have my game sound on, so let's enable that. My mistake. Oh well. I turned it off so I could like make that brief video while I was still streaming with my music. I don't want to have like game sounds behind that music. That'd just be kind of weird and unprofessional. So I did turn it off for that. Let's make sure. Nope. Let's remove the overlay. Yes, I remembered, right? All right. So Ragnarok, just of course getting up an Overlord and all that. It looks like he's gonna just. Did he? Yeah, this is the game where he was saying, "Oh yeah, sorry about the bad manner in this game. I was just raging from the game before." Hey, it happens. I do it all the time. Like you just get upset about a game and you like take it out on the next guy you play. That's just what happens, So you should, if you're the guy on the other end, you should understand that. If you're watching or whatever, you just you find this rage. It's just just try to be mature about it and just say, hey, you know what, he just is having a bad day. It happens. It happens to all of us. Just certain people react differently. So anyways, he's going to go ahead and get that reactor, or not reactor, extractor first, extractor pool. Start with that pretty safe opening against Protoss. If you go hatch first, he could just hit you with the 2-gate pressure and you can just lose that hatchery. Likewise, you could throw down a pylon and block it. So it's just safer to get that Zergling pool up first, and it really doesn't set you back. It really doesn't at all. So I do like it's. You could actually get it at like 12 or 13. Get that queen up, and then you can get the extra larva going, and then throw down the hatch and be perfectly fine that way. Or you can get it at like 14. I mean, you can get like a 14 gas, 14 pool, and then just get the Zergling speed, and that way you can spend your minerals early on as well. So anyways, starting off, it looks like Ragnarok is just scouting with that drone. He did do a little blocking against that core, but he wasn't able to block it for too long. So it's fine, as long as you don't lose that drone. You don't want to lose the drone. Don't lose the drone, man, which is very good. So let's see, what do I have written down here? Oh, okay. Well, first of all, you want to put your guys in the gas as soon as possible. You don't want the gas just sitting there. I'm bad with this as well. I get so caught up with my drone like blocking the cybernetics that my gas doesn't ever get like, guys aren't ever put into it. Actually, I did put guys in the gas and took them out already. So I'm actually a little bit behind on my analysis already. But yeah, he does have eight gas saved up. That's all right. That's not too bad. Now he's just checking around the map for pylons, which is awesome. I really wish more players would do this. Just check around the map for pylons. Just do it. Because Protoss players love to just put pylons around the map early on. And then they can forget you, and you want to check your base too, because that could be a pylon spot. And if there's a pylon there, then you just kind of lose, because if guys just warp into your base and it's like, oh, I didn't have any warning at all, you're not gonna have like any units, so you're just gonna die, and that sucks. So anyways, he's getting up that hatchery now. It's gonna be finished up soon. Here comes a macro hatch, which is pretty darn early, to be perfectly honest. He's putting that up really darn early. I would delay this just a little bit, try to get up drones, try to get up this first hatchery sooner, and then you won't have extra money for this hatchery. And that'll just give you more drones for better economy later on. So try to get up those drones as much as possible. Just like in the fundamental video I just went through, you want to constantly produce drones. And you can actually produce drones faster than Terran and Protoss can pretty early on. I mean, you do get kind of set back because your drone becomes the pool, becomes the extractor. So I mean, there is that, but you want to just keep adding on guys, some droners. Alright, so now he's producing a lot of drones. I believe that was probably because he was supply blocked. Don't get supply blocked. At this point, you can send an Overlord in. It's not going to hurt, but try not to get supply blocked because of it. Anticipate this guy dying. So produce an extra Overlord. Don't get supply blocked. And oh my god, there's a pylon in my base. Yeah, you got to want to watch for this. He did scout around the map, look for stuff. This is kind of a big blunder not to check your base. This is something I've definitely done a few times. Like you scout the entire map and you're like, oh, I'm perfectly fine. I'm playing really good. I'm feeling good about this. And then he just warps some guys in the back of your base and you just die. So I mean, it's it's really annoying. But we'll see how Ragnarok deals with this. And well, this game's actually going to be a lot about crisis management. So what has he done so far? He's transferred his drones mainly to his natural. He does have a couple left in his main. That's fine. I mean, you lose them. Not the end of the world, but you want to kind of get these guys out of there. Alright, so now 2 Overlords coming out. That supply block really hurt him because now he just didn't have guys. Now his pool is going to die and he's not going to have any Zerglings coming out of there. So he is throwing up another pool, which is really good. You want to be doing that for sure. And, well, right now he should be producing Zerglings. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Maybe he's waiting for a Roach Warren. No Roach Warren. So, I don't know. I feel like he should have just produced guys. I mean, maybe he's just in shock right now, but he really needs to produce guys. He does have 3 queens here, which is good. That's fine. And he did end up canceling this macro hatch, which, it's alright. If you second guess yourself, and that's not going to work out, like you've tried it before and it just doesn't work out and you want to do it again, but you just realize, okay, I can't really do this, then yeah, cancel it. That's fine. Like if you get a gas too early and you realize you don't want gas that early, then yeah, don't use it. Just try to remember, okay, I don't need that early next time. But yeah, he has these spine crawlers, these queens, going to be defending with that. If he produced some Zerglings, he could have had them back here to help defend against this right now, which would have helped significantly. He would have been able to keep all these spine crawlers pretty much. And the queens would be fine, and yeah, he wouldn't have all these stalkers to deal with. But yeah, now he's going to produce some Zerglings. I would like to see him use this larva. The larva doesn't die just because the hatchery died. If they're on creep, then they're perfectly going to be healthy enough to survive and kill stuff. So now Protoss is just kind of hanging out on the ramp. And so, I don't know. I just want to see more Zerglings earlier on. You don't want to say, okay, I'm under attack, I need to produce all Zerglings. It's like, and then you find out just 1 Zealot. Like, you want to gauge it and say, how much do I really need? And then produce accordingly. So now he's going to go straight for that hatchery with those Zealots, and, well, these Stalkers are going to do what they can to these Zerglings. Just for the record, if your Protoss do not do this, do not split your guys like this, try to use them together. Attack the same kind of thing. Like, don't go for the hatchery first of all. Kill the units, then go for the hatchery. You're going to be able to kill off a lot more. Because right now, that just allows Zerg to produce a lot of Zerglings, a lot of things to defend, and kill off a lot of things while you're not even going to kill off this hatchery. Like you just lost all those guys trying to kill off this hatchery, and you're not going to even kill it. So with that in mind, Zerg is going to be able to survive here. And now you have a bunch of guys trailing behind that are going to get picked off. And yeah. Okay, Zealot's going to die. Let's go to the everyone cam. Looks like he even warped another Zealot. That's like, if this is gonna die, like he has a bunch of Zerglings, don't warp in guys, they're just gonna die. So, Because this is not an even trade at all for these Zealots. If they had like a thick line of Zealots, then yeah, it's really good for Zealots. But just having them spaced out like that is really bad. So just too many Zerglings. You want to gauge it. You know, it's not that Zealots are just automatically good against Zerglings. You want to have a good number of Zealots to Zergling ratio. But anyways, since Moonstruck did not expand behind this, he did not put up pressure behind this, he's actually in quite a bit of trouble here. He's not sitting all that well. He does have 4 gate up, he's been producing guys. You know, he lost all of his guys in here. He lost some extra guys at the pylon. And because he split his guys up at this hatchery trying to kill it off, he has even less guys. So, I mean, he's sitting pretty bad considering all that. So, I mean, Zerg, you know, he did lose his main, he did lose his pool, but, I mean, considering all that, he's actually doing pretty good. I would like to see better crisis management, but it's not the end of the world. He did survive. He did, and you know, his Protoss player or Protoss opponent actually screwed up. So I mean, he's going to be okay because of that. But you never actually want to count on your opponent being bad like that. I mean, that's just, if you want to get better, how do you know, if you want to beat guys that are better than your current opponent, you're going to want to get better than you are now. You know, you just want to. I don't know. It's hard for me to explain, but you know, just keep getting better for yourself, not get better to win. Right now, getting better to beat your opponent. This opponent is not going to help you in the long run. It's just going to help you right now. So always look at the long run. Always say, okay, what could I have done better? I just won a game, but what could I have done better? So I'm glad he's looking at it like that. I think a bunch of you actually sent me replays saying, hey, I actually just won this game. I just want you to look at it and see what I could have done better. I would also like to see him rebuild this hatchery sooner. Like this macro hatch could have been like over here. I wouldn't mind that. Just because Protoss is not going to be able to threaten this base from this pylon, which is in your main, and then also threaten this one here. So I mean, it's kind of one of those things. If he's going to continue to attack from the main, then he's not going to be able to attack here. If he doesn't continue to attack from the main, he's not going to be able, or he's not going to be able to keep putting pressure on you. He's just going to lose his guys eventually, and then you can go over to defend this once the pylon's gone. So you'll be all right that way also. But now Moonstruck is going for that expansion, putting up that Nexus and all that good stuff. I would like to say see this taken sooner. He does have a lot of Zerglings here. I feel like that's a little bit too much. I would just say you don't need to add on a lot of guys right now if you're going to just defend with them. Just try to, you know, it's going to feel unsafe. It's going to feel really unsafe, actually. But all these Zerglings could have been another hatchery or like a whole lot of drones. So, I mean, if you consider all that, then, I mean, that could really push you into a really good position, much better than you're actually in right now. So Protoss sitting back with the expansion, going to be getting up some more forges apparently for some upgrades, all that good stuff. Alright, so he's getting his gas, he's got his layer. Let's see, getting his plus upgrades. Yeah, I mean, I'd say that overall he's doing alright. He does have a ton of larva that should be spent, so like immediately. You never want to save larva. That's pretty much like the thing here. You don't want to save larva. And actually, because you're saving larva, you're actually getting less larva. I mean, think about it. If you have 3 larva or more, your hatchery is not producing more larva unless your queen spews some on it. So, I mean, you're getting like 3 plus the 4 from the spew every time the spew finishes. So that's 7 guys. But if you actually use your larva continuously before that spew finishes, you'll actually have like 8 or 9 guys, or 9, yeah, because of the larva, you know, because they'll keep regenerating instead of hitting 3 and then stopping. So I mean, you want to continually using them if possible. And right now he's using it pretty good. So I mean, he just has an extra hatchery, which is why I wish this hatchery was down here, and which is why I wish this hatchery was finished sooner. So right now he really needs to take a third. He has plenty of drones at his natural and his main. So yeah, it's really just the time to take a third. Could have been a little bit sooner, like I was trying to say, but whatever. Now Protoss is taking his third. And I mean, Ragnarok has some pretty good creep spread all the way to the watch. I'll just watch it. Maybe you want to continue to spread it. Put a dude there. You do have a little bit of extra energy they could use for creeping. This hatchery could use a queen, but whatever. Looks like you got a lot of hydras and roaches. That's fine. Do whatever you want. I would not say that this spire was completely necessary. Where is it? There it is. I mean, you want to scout your opponents. I would say it's not necessary because he doesn't actually know what is going on in the Protoss camp. Or actually, well, he has a changeling. Okay, never mind. Scratch that. You just want to base everything you do based on scouting. As any race. As, Zerg is like, especially Zerg, you want to be doing that. But really, as Terran and Protoss, you want to be doing that also. So just try to scout as much as possible. I'm glad I saw that changeling. And, well, adding on some corruptors is not a bad choice by any means. Kill off those, these guys, the Colossi, and all that. So now we're just going to speed this up some more. Put on ×4. Blow through these games. I do want to say he did have a pretty good timing on his lair. Not because he got a lair pretty fast after that attack. No, or because he got a lair at it's 10 minutes into the game, I need a lair. No, not like that. But just based on what Protoss did and had, it was a good timing. Because Protoss had, got this Robotics facility, got, his expansion up and all that. I mean, it's just a good timing to have it so they can defend with his Hydras and then get up some Corruptors. And it just worked out with what Moonstruck was doing. So, anyways, Corruptors coming out, and we'll have a big engagement in a moment. Alright, so now he's pushing out with all of his dudes. I would like to see him scout right now, but yeah, scout. Just see what's going on. For the record, even with this kind of beefy group, like Roaches and Hydras and Corruptors, I would consider a higher tech, slower pushing type army. Just because of the map, because the third is so accessible from pretty much the same kind of distance as the natural here. I would say just look at this spot, see if it's a good spot to attack. Look at this spot, see if it's a good spot to attack. And try to just force your opponent to move a certain way. Like, his army is here, which means this spot here is defended by this army. This spot, yeah, it's defended by a couple of cannons, but I mean, if you sent a bunch of guys down here, these cannons would be nothing. So what you can do is send a medium-sized force, maybe just like the Zerglings and some of these Roaches. Send them over here, do some damage to these cannons, try to take out the Nexus. As soon as you see his army, this is the crucial part, as soon as you see his army, because he's probably going to send everything to defend that. As soon as you see it, you run out of there. Do not try to get greedy. Do not try to pick off probes. If you don't actually kill the Nexus, just leave it, just go, and just get out of there. And then while his army is over here at the third, you can attack the natural here. And this is going to be a nice cash crop to kill off some probes, some pylons. Even if it's with just a couple of Zerglings, you could have your big army here and just have Zerglings just standing here and waiting, saying, okay, as soon as you move your army, I'm going to just go in there and kill a whole bunch of guys. Likewise, you can run some Zerglings into the main, but at this point, as you can see, it's not really, it's not being mined. But you can pick off some forges, some good pylons and all that. So, I mean, there is some good stuff to attack in the main regardless. But yeah, those aren't going to die nearly as fast. Plus, you're going to get stuck in the main, whereas his army is going to be here, and your Zerglings are going to be in here. So, you can't really just retreat with your Zerglings. So, I mean, there is that as well. But, I mean, just try to think about how can I force my opponent to play a certain way, and then how can I abuse that, So, we're going to see engagements soon, I believe. Let me just check, make sure everything's good. Yeah, it looks like everything's running. I know I'm kind of competing with the MLG right now, so I mean, it's kind of whatever. But whatever, people can watch the VODs and all that good stuff. Alright, so Zerg's going to be moving out now. And this is actually what I see a lot, even in Masters level. They'll do big engagements in the center. And people have strayed away from it a little bit, but the idea being you want to attack the least defended position so he can kill stuff off for free. Because killing stuff off for free is awesome. Zergling run-by is always a good idea. If you lose a couple Zerglings, if you try to do that and it fails, then whatever, you know, sit back a little bit. Try to use a lot of Zerglings and you do that and you fail, then yeah, it's not really the best idea. But a little bit of coughing. So Ragnarok did a good job pulling back, saying, okay, I can't really win this right now. I picked off the Colossus. That's good enough for now. I'm just going to retreat. And so that's going to be awesome. Now just adding on a bunch of roaches. And Protoss not going to be adding on any more Colossus because he sees a lot of Corruptors. So right now is pretty much a good time to transition into Broodlord. So he is getting up that high, which is good. I would like to see a little bit sooner. He could have gotten a little bit sooner, but whatever. You know, just he's spending his money. He's keeping his food high, which is good. Right now he could be adding on more guys. Okay, so yeah, he's adding on 4 roaches. I'll just say try to use what you can more often. Also, these Corruptors do have an ability. Don't forget about it. Corruption. Corruption is very good against ground forces. You know, 20% more damage. Pretty nice, you know? So these roaches, they don't do 20 damage. They do what, like 20, 24? 25. They do 25 damage instead of 20, which is pretty nice, you know? You kill the Stogs a little bit sooner. Hydras, for example, they, you know, instead of 14, they'd do what? Let's see, 20%, what should be... I don't know, I'm not going to think about it, I can't really think right now, but... let's see, more roaches coming out, more roaches being built. And he's getting a little bit of gas. I would say definitely spend it on you know, try not to spend it on so many roaches. I'd say try to get up another base, get up some more minerals. If you want to add on roaches, try to get up another base, you know, so you can get more minerals for those, or maybe pull guys out of gas. The idea is you just don't want a lot of gas compared to minerals. It's much better to have more minerals than gas as Zerg, because you can, you know, like, roaches don't really cost a lot of gas. Zerglings don't cost any gas at all. Bandings not very much. Hydras cost a little bit, but I mean compared to a Stalker, they're, you know, what is a Stalker's like 25 minerals, 50 gas. Yeah, 125 minerals, 50 gas, and then a Hydra is what, like 150 minerals? Or no, it's only 100 minerals and 50 gas. Oh, okay, never mind then. Hydras are pretty gas intensive, but oh, we're just gonna close out this game now because not much going on. Oh, you're not gonna have good late games until you do good early games, so we're not gonna even talk about this all that much. Yeah, so just start like, okay, can I harass this? Can I harass the main? Can I Nidus the main? Can I drop the main? Just think about plays like that, because I mean it's really kind of not that hard. I mean, it's really not hard at all. I mean, you just get the technology for it, load some guys up into an Overlord, and then you click over here, and then you hold Shift, click unload, and then click here so that they unload here. And then if you want, you can move your Overlords back here so they're safe. And then once you see his army, you can always load back in and all that. So I mean, just think about aggressive things like that in the mid games, or mid game and late game as Zerg. So the more bases your opponent has, the harder it is to defend them. You know, like, you can just do a lot of stuff. Like, once I see a person on 3 bases, I'm like, yes, I can do some good drops, I can do, like, some good muta action, and, you know, all that good stuff. Mutas are not the only way you can be aggressive. But, anyways, we're going to see some Broodlords coming out here. Gonna be tearing up the Protoss. Zerg's actually, or actually no, Protoss is behind on food, which is actually pretty normal. Now here comes the time when, oh, what do I do now? Get some Broodlords. Well, you have a lot of Stalkers, you can use Blink. All that fun stuff. Good Blink can maintain out those Broodlords. However, the Hydras are a big pain in the butts. You do want some kind of High Templar or something like that to help pounce. Let me just check the base real quick. I'm sure he does have Storm. Where is the doohickey for it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, he has Storm. I mean, you can't really just warp in guys and have Storm right away like you used to be able to with Amulet, but, you know, it's still helpful to have a couple of Templar out. Just warp them in like right now. You have the money for it, definitely. And then, or no, actually that's Zerg Dad's money. Never mind. Just confusing my colors. But oh, okay, he does have some guys back. Oh, it's gonna be an Archon. I would definitely say that the Storm's gonna help out a lot more against these Hydras. Storm is awesome against Hydras. And then Archons are pretty much like, if you have one Archon, then he's just gonna run up here and die. You know, like what's it gonna do? Like, whereas a Storm could actually like do some good damage from a distance. And you'll actually have 2 Storms to every Archon. So sometimes you just kind of want Storm. You know, sure, you have to wait a second or two for that Storm to actually, for your energy to actually get it up to Storm level. Whatever. So now times 4, breaking it out, kill off this Nexus, and Protoss pretty much going to be losing. If you can't tell, Protoss going to lose. And, well, Zerg just has to rebuild. Which he should have been doing this whole time, just for the record. Rebuild while you're attacking, just maintain 200 food constantly if you can. I want to see this at 0 if this is not at 200. Protoss trying to do some kind of aggression. Keep checking and make sure the overlay's not up, and it's not up, so it's good. But I mean, if you see random flashing, that's why. So don't be confused. All right, so there was no GG, not a big deal. Players don't like to GG sometimes, especially if their ass gets whooped. Okay, so that's actually the only Zerg we're gonna see until like the last game. Actually, no, this next one's a PVZ. Oh, actually, the next 2 are PVZ. Well, I can't believe I forgot already. Alright, so we are going to see some Zergs, just not from the Zerg perspective and all that. So let me load this up. Sorry to do some coughing. I'm getting over being sick, so if I sound a little nasally now, that's why. All right, so that's the wrong guy. We want to look at Juka. 1 second. Oh wow, I didn't turn that off. Oh well. I apologize, I'm just like really kind of sick. I'm just getting over my sickness, so I'm really kind of nasally. Alright, so let's remove that overlay, get into this game. Alright, so we have Juka, who's our submitter today. And we're just going to look at it from his perspective right off the bats. All that good stuff. Let's speed this up. Early game, not much going on, Pounding at the wall, scouting, all that good stuff. One thing that I noticed at this level of play, from pretty much all my submitters, is they just don't produce enough drones or probes or SCVs. Just crank them out. So we're going to have our view on his Nexus quite a little bit. It seems okay for the most part. A little bit of blocking there. Wow, so how much can you guys actually hear of me? I'm not even... Wow. Okay, I don't know when my mic was on or off or whatever. I kept turning it on and off. I'm not even sure like if it was on like when I was sniffing or if it was on when I was talking. So I apologize if you guys didn't hear any of that, but really not much is going on. Let's unpause here. I'm going to slow it down a little bit to ×2. Alright, so let's see, hatchery going on for Zerg. Protoss, let's speed it down to faster. One of the things I noticed is he just doesn't crank out probes constantly, whereas no matter what, this would be like the number one thing you should be looking at, just build probes. Right now he's supply blocked, or he will be this next probe, but well, he's got a pilot coming. Never mind, it's gonna be all right. But just constantly produce them. It's kind of hard. It's gonna take a lot of getting used to. You're gonna screw it up a lot, but just do it. You know, because in the long run, that's gonna help you out significantly. I'm sure you're gonna lose like the first like maybe like 20 games that you played trying to really concentrate on it. But after you get it, you're gonna win a lot more. Like 20 games really isn't all that much. It's maybe a couple days for some people. For others, it might be like a day, or maybe like half a day. So I mean, it's like compared to however long you're gonna be playing StarCraft 2, that could be not that long at all. Like people have played thousands of games already. I'm sure I've played over 1,000 games, just a lot of OBS games, so I don't actually have the icon, but whatever. So, don't screw it up. Just don't. Just build probes. Alright, he's got a probe coming. That's good. Zerg needs some drones coming. Let's see. Does he have larva? No larva, that's okay. You don't really. If you don't have larva, you can't build drones, obviously. I would like to see this gateway here. That just being, this constricts your base more, whereas you can constrict the outside a little bit more. And then you can put a cannon inside. And then, well, right now your units have to be like back here, and it just seems kind of far away. Whereas units that move into here are going to be attacking this gateway and then this nexus first. Whereas this building's safe, but if all your units are behind these buildings, then I mean some of them back here are not going to be able to attack all that well. So you want to give them the best coverage as possible. So maybe just want to put it there, that type of thing. Just have a little bit better of a sim. Just let's have a inward-facing concave, one outward-facing concave, so that you can just put your guys in that hole type thing. So just expanding, pretty normal early game stuff for this kind of build. He did do a 1-gate expansion, which is good. That's fine. A lot of Zerg players are not going to be pressured in here. This isn't a giant ramp. This isn't a giant amount of space, so it's kind of hard to actually get in there. So I can see why Zerg players are not going to be attacking all that much on this map. So yeah, 1-gate expansion, totally fine. Alright, so now he's going to be doing this sentry pressure, which is good. Well, apparently not yet. He's going to be waiting for another guy, maybe. I don't know. He could be adding on some more guys right now. Alright, so now he's adding on some guys. He's adding on probes. Good, good. Alright, so I'm just going to have these nexus selected so you guys can see the dots to see if there's a probe being constructed there or not. We're going to speed it up a little bit. Alright, so queued up a little bit. That's very good, actually. I queued up right before it was done, which is perfect. It's not queued up at all. There's no probes right now. No probes being built. No probes being built. Still no probes being built. Now there's probes being built. Alright, well, it's kind of a long time since we're on ×2. That's a long freaking time. No probes again. No probes. So, I mean, that's pretty much the main theme at this kind of level. Players will move out with their army. They'll have their screen on their army, and this won't build probes. You just gotta remember, okay, I got stuff going on in my base. I got stuff going on in my base. I need to make probes. I need to make pylons. I need to keep this going. Because otherwise this attack is kind of fruitless. But anyways, he has some good force fields blocking the roaches from actually doing anything. But just for the record, since you have mainly sentries, you're not going to be able to kill any of this off very quickly. Like, none of it. At this point, you should say, okay, my opponent just added on a bunch of guys. I can actually just go back to my base. You don't need to continue on with that pressure. He does have a forward pylon here. I don't like that. If you're doing sentry at pressure, you don't need this pylon. This pylon is completely not useful. If you went in there and saw like no roaches, then yeah, you might be able to do something. But since you did see roaches, you really just decide to go in there and have this pylon. If you want, you can put the pylon up here, and then it's safer, and you can harass this expansion later on, or maybe you want to put it at the 4th. That's fine. So yeah, he's going to be going for this. It's kind of, well, if Zerg had enough units, he could just wall him in right here, keep him at the ramp, and Protoss would just lose all of his guys. He'd kill the hatchery, but lose all of his guys. So, I mean, that's really not good either. Looks like Nerf is going to be losing that Muta for nothing. Not a big deal, it happens. Yeah, Protoss continuing on with this pressure. And just for the record, while this pressure is going on, you should be expanding. It seems really early to take another base, but if you're able to keep up this pressure, and you've added on this many stalkers to keep up the pressure, add on another base. Or if you're just going to go 2 base all in and just try to kill him with his attack, add on more gateways or more robos or whatever. I wouldn't really suggest robos because that's like tech. It takes time to get it. If you're going robo, you're going to want Colossus. If you want a Colossus, that's another building altogether and a lot of time. So I mean, I'll just say get up a bunch of gateways. Right now he has 5 gates. He's added on robo. That's totally cool. I would like to see a 6th gate, and then maybe a robo or maybe an expansion, and just continue with this pressure. The idea with this pressure, though, you do not want to lose a ton of guys. You want to get as much damage done for free. So I mean, he's actually doing a pretty good job pulling back and everything, getting up some good force fields. The force fields are about to. Okay, so he's going to put up some more. That's fine. Gotta be careful. Nah, that sentry died with full energy. You gotta be careful of that. Just use your force fields, even if it's not gonna really do anything. Yeah, some more sentries dying with full energy. Not very awesome. Just work on that micro aspect. I mean, force fields are pretty darn important for us in this matchup. Even against Terran, it's very important. You want to force field those Marines and Marauders. But now, all these Stalkers pretty much going to die. I mean, not much I can do. Alright, so he's added on some Zealots to aid them. Alright, so they're not going to die. They're going to be totally fine since Zerg did not have enough dudes. But yeah, throw up another expansion. Just make one Stalker, kill off that Overlord, and then expand. It's not that bad. A couple mutas in here. I don't know how many guys they actually killed. It's like a pretty good amount actually, but they're not really going to do all that much. Just warming a couple guys in the back. Alright, there you go. I'd like to see that a little bit sooner. Try to react sooner. I don't know if you... Well, I guess in ladder it's kind of like it's always red and blue, but if you need to, you can hold down Alt, hit F, and that'll change the unit colors. I can't do it because it's a replay and there's only 2 people in the game and it's already red and blue, but if you're playing against an opponent in like a custom game and they're green or something and it's just hard to see on that map, just do Alt F and they become red and you become green, and then it's all good, So I would like to see expansion. The expansion should already be done. I mean, he forced Zerg to produce a lot of guys and continued with that pressure. That's fine, but you want to have something to back it up. I mean, you had the money for it. You've had the money for a while for it. Just now he's killing off that Overlord, saying, okay, I really need to expand now. You want to be thinking about that a step earlier, like a major step earlier, like when you're doing the initial attack. Now, since you were just doing like that initial sentry attack, like that 3-gate pressure, while you're putting up this Nexus, yeah, that's fine. Put up that pressure, fall back. You don't want to attack in there. Try to not to lose any guys at all. I mean, you ran in there, saw a bunch of roaches, did some okay damage to those spine crawlers. Just get out there. Get out of there. You don't need to stick around. A good player is just going to surround you with a whole bunch of Zerglings, and then the roaches are going to catch up, and you're going to lose everything. So you want to be very careful of that, and just throw up. And then if you do continue to pressure like that, throw up an expansion so that you just have it. Now he's waiting for this creep to resend, and now he's finally putting it up, and it's 16 minutes into the game, whereas this expansion could have been up at 10 minutes. Now that's 6 minutes behind. So I mean, with that in mind, he could have had a lot more probes. He could have reached 80 probes by now if he had, 1, good probe production, and 2, added on that expansion sooner. And now these mutas are going to come over and deny it because it's so late. So if it was earlier, this would have been like 2 or 3 mutas, or 4 or so. Now it's a whole bunch, so I mean, you really got to be careful. And at this point, you pretty much just need some guys at your main, and at your third, and at your natural. If you are in a position where you have to expand while you're defending instead of pressuring, like right now, if Protoss moved out, he might just lose everything. If you feel like that, keep your main group here at your third. Build a couple of cannons back here. I mean, assuming you're dealing with mutas or something like that, just have a couple cannons in your main. So I mean, he's actually doing a pretty good job of that. But I would like to see his big army not here, but like here. That way you can move up here if there's mutas, or move up here in case there's a ground attack. So I mean, just doing it like that will allow you to, just engage wherever. Whereas like, for example, in tennis, like, you hit the ball and you go to the center of the court. The center. The reason being, if the ball goes to the right side, you're going to have the same amount of time to get there as if the ball went to the left side. Whereas if you stayed around on the right side, or the left, let's just say the left side, if you stayed around on the left side and the ball goes to the right side, you're going to have like this huge distance to cover. You're not going to get there in time. You're just going to lose. So I mean, the same kind of thing applies here. It's kind of like ping pong. You kind of just want to be in the center so that you can get to whichever side you need to. Whereas we're talking about natural or expansions here. We're talking about expansions here, not really sides of the table. So now he's picking off a couple of dudes. All that good stuff. Zerg successfully got his third up, and well, third is up for us as well. So I'm gonna speed through this a little bit faster. Alright, so now it pushes out again. Probes are in production. Good. You know, and don't forget about the pylons at this point. Like, you know, that first pressure, like that's, I feel like you don't need a pylon there necessarily, because it's just like a small pressure. But with this, like a pylon at this point in the time is not a big deal. It's a lot less money. So I mean, throwing on a pylon in the center here if you're doing some kind of pressure is not a bad idea. Let's see, does he have blink? No blink. No blink on the way either. I would like to see a console by now, a Twilight console, just so we can start getting upgrades. Actually, I don't think he has any upgrades. Oh, he has a +1. So he has been using the Forge. I would just like to see the console and that plus armor. Try to get the upgrades a lot sooner. That's the other thing I see a lot of players don't do. They forget about upgrades. And that's, you know, a lot of these things are just going to come with time. If you practice a lot, they're going to come with time. But yeah, just try to keep it in your mind while you're playing. That way you'll just have a better habit of remembering it, and you're just going to improve faster. You know, try to keep these ideas in your head, like constantly producing workers. You know, keep that in your head until you do that perfectly, and then work on supply depots, saying, okay, I need to build supply depots. Just keep that in your head until you really get it, and then, you know, just move on from there. You know, right now maybe he needs to think about some. What was I just saying? Oh, upgrades. You know, just making sure you get upgrades at a good time. Just for the record, right now, actually no, scratch that. But, if you see a whole bunch of Zerglings like attacking you, and like all of the students are not joined up with the Zerglings, you can actually just engage the Zerglings and then fall back. That's actually going to be a good play. Just because you're going to be able to eliminate a lot of Zerglings before his main force even gets there. So I mean, if he's moving his armies separately like that, then just kill him off. You know, that's just like, that's like a free force field. Like that cuts his army in half, so he can kill off like the lesser guys and then kill off the bigger guys. So I mean, that's pretty awesome. Like the Zerglings actually tank pretty well against Protoss, since they have that big slow attack of 11. Yeah, but attack speed is only 1.44, so that's actually pretty slow. It's like Marine or Zergling. So with that in mind, you wanted, you know, Zerglings are actually pretty good at absorbing. No Fungus yet. Apparently there's one. Zerg kind of botched that. This is actually a terrible spot for Zerg to engage, but he looks like he's doing alright since he just has more guys. So with that in mind, you want to kind of not engage a superior force if possible, unless it's like in your base, then you might have to. But just try to sit back, reinforce them, and then continue on from there. And then, I don't know, there's a lot of Hydras there. I wish you would have force field them. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back a sec. Alright, so he's engaging this. I wish he would have thrown down some force fields, I really do. I mean, I see a lot of players have sentries at this point in time and just don't use force fields. Like, to me, that is a huge thing that people are not doing right. Put some force fields down, like here, and here. Trap those Hydras so they can't run away. You know, for Zerg, if you have only Hydras and Festers left, you want to get out of there. Like, even if you have a superior force, you want to get out of there, because it's not going to be an even trade, because you need something to absorb damage for your Hydras. So right now, you know, like after you lose your Zerglings and Roaches, and you just have Hydras left, you retreat. So you want to cut off that retreat if at all possible, and try to kill more guys that way. Because these Hydras, they seem kind of scary, but actually this force could have taken it pretty darn easily. Actually, pretty very easily. This is not a big force at all. So try to take what you can in that regard. Now, of course, if he had just had like a billion Hydras, then you might want to try to cut half of them or something like that. You know, so just try to use your first field more often. And as you're nearing the 200 food add on more cannons and expand. Right now I'll just say expand because he's low on money here. No minerals here, almost no minerals here. This is pretty much his only mining base, or will be in a sec. So he should be expanding right now. Think of a late game at this point, and then you can go from there. You know, a lot of players get to this point, they're like, oh, I'm at 200 food, the game's gonna end now because we're just gonna trade armies and someone's gonna win and lose. Whereas that's not usually the case in StarCraft 2, especially at pro level. You know, as you get better, once you hit 200 food, that's not the end of the game. That's like the beginning of the game. Like that's when you want to really consider expansions and how you move your army and what you get specifically. I should say it's not so much about what you get, but how you use what you get. You know, army movements, when you throw up expansions. You know, are you making lower tech units or higher tech units? Are you using them for their intended purpose? Like for example, Zerglings. If you add on Zerglings at this stage of the game, you should be using them offensively. You should be using them to kill this off. Morph them into Banes and just run up this ramp, or I guess the ramp's not taken out, but if it was taken out, you could go up there, or you go around this ramp up here, or whatever. So looks like Protoss is going to be expanded to gold, which is good. And it's kind of rough on this map. I do understand. Taking a fourth on this map as Protoss is pretty darn hard. I mean, for Zerg it's a little bit hard, but for Protoss and Terran or actually Protoss is really hard, and Terran it's kind of in the middle, I suppose. Just because Terran has Planetary Fortress and tanks and things that can just zone this big area here, so... Alright, so he moves his army down here. I would not agree with that expansion. I mean, you have this expansion here. Don't move your army here. You want to move so that this expansion is safe. Right now, Zerg has a big opportunity to just roll in here and kill off a whole lot of probes, kill off this Nexus, kill off a whole bunch of pylons and gateways. And you're not going to be sitting all that pretty after that, you know? So, I mean, with that in mind, you want to attack directly. Just attack right into the natural. Don't worry about these side bases. If you are worried about them, you can send some Dark Templar, put a pylon here with a probe, warp in a couple of Zealots, and attack it with those. Do not engage it with your entire force, because now Zerg is going to wipe this out. He could wipe out this, could wipe out your third. You're pretty much just entirely exposed. Like, that's how unsafe this is right now. You don't want to be doing that. So Zerg, not going to be doing that because this is lower level play, but you know, just trying to gear you up for some higher level play. Look at that, he was even trying to transfer some probes or some drones at the same time. And yeah, pretty good split there with your Stalkers. I like that. I would like to see some more upgrades. You know, Zerg right now is on 3 for ranged attack, 2 for armor. Stalkers are only on 1-1, so I mean, you really want to work on that quite a bit, and that's why this could have gone a lot better, to be honest. But now at this point in Zerg, you know, if you're Zerg, you might be saying, alright, this is unbalanced. Truth is, Zerg had a lot of opportunities to like do some good stuff. Like, Zerg is all about the counterattack. That's how I look at it. I mean, you don't have to play like that, but to me that's what they're meant for. You could have attacked this base before all these cannons were there, killed it off, and then, you know, Juka would have a much harder time adding on guys to reinforce this. And with that in mind, you could just send wave after wave of guys to attack this and eventually kill it off. So that's pretty much how Protoss rolls with one giant ball. Don't try to do it as Zerg. Don't try to do it unless you have like Broodlords and Ultras and all that. Then maybe you want to do it, but just gotta be really careful with how you attack. So this is gonna be wrapping up in just a moment. Yep. We're going into game number 3 in just a moment. After game number 3, we are gonna have a short break, like a 15-minute break, so I can catch my breath because I am a little bit sick. And so you guys can ask some questions, and so we can just start the stream over so that we don't have over 2 hours. I don't know how long we've been going, about an hour, which is fine. So. Zerg's getting cleaned up. And actually a lot of players sent me replays of them winning, which is fine. I won't be able to point out quite as much things if you win. I can't say like why you lost, obviously, because you won, but you know, there are certain things I can still pick out. So I'm glad to be of service. Alright, so let's go into the next game here in just a moment. Make sure I get some water. It's easing my throat. Alright, so we are going to be doing another Zerg, or another Protoss against Zerg. I think a lot of players are starting to have problems with this matchup. At least down here. Not knowing quite what to do. So we're going to jump into another one of these. If you're Terran, don't worry, we're going to have some Terran games, and actually the next couple I think are Terran. So let's remove that overlay. Let's not forget. And we have Ryzen, who spawns a mean Protoss player at the bottom left, also known as the red guy. And we have the blue guy, Busy, spawning as our blue Zerga at the top left. So yeah, not much goes on in these early stages of the game. If I was casting, I'd be talking about a bunch of weird, crazy business with plays and whatnot. These players scouting across the map first. For the record, I'm not sure which is actually fastest by ground, if it's actually this one or this one. But for all intensive purposes, we do call this one the fast air. You know, these two bases, fast air, and then this one fast ground. But whatever. I just don't know the exact math of it, you know. Don't actually ladder all that much to know either. I do want to say you can scout a little bit less. What I mean by that is your probe like went all the way up to here. You don't need to move it that far. Like the nexus is going to be like right here, or the hatchery is going to be like right there. So with that in mind, you can only scout. You can scout to like here. Just save a little bit of time, you know. On other maps like Metalopolis, you can actually just look at the mineral, you know, scout until you see the mineral. If it's flashing, then he's there. If he's not there, it's not going to be flashing. So you can just get out of there. You don't even have to worry about it, you know. So you don't have to go quite that far into the base. So Busy here going for the expansion first, and then pool after. And Ryzen is just going for normal core, you know. He put the gateway at a very good spots. Remember, I don't know if you guys were watching the other analysis, but you do want to look for this block, which is straight. And then you can put your Zealot back here, and only one, maybe two Zerglings can attack that Zealot. Whereas if you had on this edge, no matter what, at least 2 or 3 Zerglings would be able to attack it. So just gotta be careful with that. It's just much easier or much harder to deal with run-bys and all that. So Busy is being busy, getting up some drones for the transfer. Looks like there was an extractor steal. This guy here definitely misses a lot of probes. I forgot to really look for it before. I've been talking about it a lot already, so I'm not going to pay attention too much to it. But we are going to select his Nexus for a little bit. Just watch him crank out dudes. So yeah, he's going to be killing it off. I would say you definitely want the Zealot there. Definitely want the Zealot there. Do not remove that Zealot. Like, unless you scout Zerg and you see, okay, you got a pretty darn late pool. And actually, I'm not sure if he did. Alright, so he did scout it. So, I mean, he might be thinking, okay, I can actually just go over there to attack it because he's not going to be attacking me because the pool is just so darn late. I just want to, you know, put the rationale into your heads, because if this pool was first, then you do not remove this Zealot ever. You know, like don't remove it until you're taking your third, because it's going to be extremely unsafe. You gotta kind of just let that assimilator be taken. And yeah, otherwise, a really good play is just to send a whole lot of Zerglings to your opponent's base, you know. And then if he has no Zealot there, he has no Zealot there, you know. What can he do? So I mean, there's a timing where you get there, like right before the Zealot or before the sentry. So I just gotta be careful, careful. Little Zergling gonna be munching away at that Nexus. Nope, he's gonna be running away and then dying. Nope, he's not gonna die. He's gonna run away. All right, he's gonna be safe. It's all good. All right, so we do have 3 gate finished. I would like to, you know, since he put down this pylon here before these 2 gates, I would like to see these 2 gates here. Just to constrict it, make this extra safe. Right now, if Zerg planned a big bust, then you're just gonna lose this expansion. You're gonna lose 100, or yeah, 100 minerals from the expansion, another 100 for this pylon, another 100 for this pylon. So having those extra buildings there and having your units down there to guard it, yeah, you're gonna be a lot safer. Here comes some good probe transfers. Looks like a little too much, not a big deal. Actually, no, it looks like just the right amounts. That much versus that much. Actually, yeah, that's perfect. That's really good. You don't want to sit there and count your probes. Don't ever do that. You can select your probes and say, okay, I have this many probes, and then like select about half, and then like, oh, I need to select a couple more. Okay, no, I'm at about half. That's fine. Just don't go like 1 probe, 2 probes, 3 probes, 4, because you're gonna just waste a ton of time. So yeah, don't do it. Also, look at the money once in a while. You can get stuff up a lot faster just looking at your money, saying, "Oh, I have exactly enough for a gateway. Let's put down a gateway." You know, like a lot of players get distracted. Like in StarCraft 2, it's very easy to get distracted. The idea is you want to get rid of that. Don't distract yourself. That's why I like to tell you guys to play the don't look at the command center game, or don't look at the Nexus game, or Hatchery, or whatever. Just don't look at it early on. Just build probes out of it without looking at it. Look at your scout probe and nothing else. Just look at your probe. And if you need to add on a building, yeah, go back to your base, add on that building. But you should just be looking at the probe. And actually, you don't even need to be looking at the probe. Just have your screen on the probe. Be looking at the money. You know, be looking at your food. And then, you know, once in a while you tab back to your Nexus to see if you need to make probes and all that. So, I don't know. I just hope you guys really get this, because, I mean, that's really where a lot of practice comes in. You need to practice that to actually do it well. But once you can do it well, it's going to be really easy to continue to do it and continue to play well, because, I mean, that's just like setting you up for a better player and all that. So I would like to see some more production buildings sooner. You know, he has these buildings up. I would like to, well, he's been using them. I do want to state that he has been using it. But he does have a lot of money. And actually, a lot of that money is because he's not building probes. Build probes, this would actually be a little bit less. And then a little bit later on, it'll be more than it would be now. Or more than it will be. So if you continued that, that'd be good. Production buildings, yeah, at this point, if you have that much money, just add on a couple of production buildings. Don't be like, oh, I have 2 bases, so I should have exactly 4 gates and a robo. I mean, yeah, that's what you should have, but if you don't have that and you have a ton of money, you should just spend it. Like that's my big thing, like, spend your freaking money. So, some of the buildings going up were killed off. He's just going to come in here for another attack and all that. I would like to see some good force fields. You know, these roaches are retreating at a good time, so I mean, he's not able to do a lot of good force fielding. There's some okay force fields, forcing some of these roaches to attack. And at Zerg at this point, you're kind of like, okay, do I want to just sacrifice those few guys trapped behind, or do I want to maybe engage and try to kill off what I can? Most of the time, you want to engage a little bit and then run away. It's kind of tricky. It really is. I don't want to get too much into it since I'm looking at Protoss, but So I'm actually coughing a lot with my with doing this, which is fine. You know, I'm about halfway through. I can take a break, rest my voice, and then continue on. So I apologize, but I am pretty sick. Alright, so Muta's coming in here. I would like to see some cannons back here. Not like a lot of cannons, just like 1 or 2 or 3. And then once you do see the Mutas or the Spire, then you can say, okay, I need a couple more. And just make sure you just keep adding on Stalkers. And make sure you get Blink. You know, like once you see a Spire or a bunch of Mutas, make sure you get Blink. Because that's going to help out significantly. And of course, don't forget about your plus upgrades. Looks like he's just getting the shields. I wish he would get the, you know, +2 attack, which would help out a lot against these Mutas. So there is that. Speed it up a little bit. Also, around this time, if you want, you can throw down some forward pylons. Like, yeah, Zerg's gonna have the watchtower. Don't even go by the watchtower. Like, go around the watchtower down here. Maybe you want a pylon here to watch that. Maybe you want a pylon up here. Maybe a pylon up here. You know, just a couple of forward pylons. You know, not a big deal. I would not say just like put them down. Like try to get them like as you need them. You know. And then Mutas might take him out. Zerglings might take him out. That's fine. Don't worry about it so much. But what that's going to allow you to do is throw down some aggression. Actually, Zerga is doing a good job getting up some spines here. I like that a lot for him. But yeah, if you had a Twilight Council and a Dark Shrine, you could actually just throw up some Dark Templar, harass this, harass that. A lot of players will look at you and be like, "Ah, you got no honor. You're using Dark Templar." Truth is, it's part of the game. Use them. They're awesome. Don't think about it. Don't think twice about it. If someone gives you crap about it, just tell them they don't know what they're talking about. Because it's part of the game. It's completely balanced. Just, you know, a lot of players don't use them as much as they could. So yeah, here comes a Nexus. Some good pylons going up. Very good. Alright, so I like that. I would just like to see the cannons here at your third a little bit sooner. And then this is actually really good. And then since you're adding on another Nexus, you can actually just throw up a couple of gateways here, constrict some movements, and that's going to help out a lot also. So I'll just say that like at small chokes like this, if they're by a base, throw up some buildings there, you know, like as you're expanding, you're going to need production buildings. So I mean, you can add them on before you actually need them. That's actually really good because they're going to finish like as you're going to need them. So I mean, you're actually getting them right on time when you need to get them. So just get them earlier, build this up quicker. Going to be expanding safer, and you're going to be feeling a lot better about your play. Well, let's look at my notes. Let's speed it up a little bits. It's going to be an engagement soon. Alright, so now you're at 200 food. I would say definitely add on some cannons right now. Just to deal with mutas. Like, you don't need to keep these guys back here anymore. You know, this is like, your food is limiting. You have a limited number of units you can possibly build. Whereas cannons, you can build however many you want. Like, you gotta mine out the whole map before you can give up cannons. So I mean, you know, when you're at 200 food, it's good to just keep adding on cannons. Like, add on like 3 here, maybe like a couple back here. Maybe like 3 or 4 here, actually. That's a lot of buildings right there. Add on even more at this base, because it's so far away. Add on a couple here. Back here, maybe. Maybe even some more in the front. Now, let's keep adding cannons. And now this happens, that's fine. Now, you might be saying, okay, that might not be a good idea to add on those cannons, because I might need that money for units, but I mean, you're going to be okay. Like, if these mutas decided, okay, I'm going to be harassing here, while I engaged my main force here, then you could be in a lot of trouble. Like, you might be able to kill off his main force, that's fine. But the thing is, the mutas could still do a lot of damage, and the fact that your stalkers are back here is not very awesome. At this point in time, anyway. So now you got your +2 armor, +2 attack, +1 shields. Hey, you know what? Not a lot of players get shields. I'm glad you got them. I really am. Shields are amazing. They regenerate so fast. It's kind of like saying, okay, I just took all this damage, but I'm just going to regenerate it. Getting that +1 shield armor makes it so, you know, like you take even more damage on those shields. That's going to be awesome. I don't know, in case you, I don't know if anybody's curious about this if they don't know or anything. I'm sure a lot of people know already, but the way armor works is it reduces the attack once. So like 3 armor reduces this attack 3 times. So this, let's say the Stalker's not attacking an armored unit. Or let's say a Stalker's attacking a Stalker, right? It's armored. Okay, so it does 16 damage with these 2 upgrades. But since it has 2 armor, or 3 armor I should say, that 16 becomes 13 and deals damage that way. Same as shields, it works exactly the same way. 16 becomes 15. Now that doesn't seem like all that much, but when you consider Zerglings that attack really fast, armor helps a lot. Like Zerglings get +1, okay, reduce it back to its normal amount, and then reduce it again. Because there's 2 of them, right? So if a Zergling has +1, and you have 3 armor, so that Zergling actually does what, 6 damage then. So reducing 6 damage to 3, that's 50% of the damage. Like you're reducing it by 50%. That's ridiculous. That is really good. So what do these Zerglings actually have? They actually have 0, so 5 damage. -3 is only 2 damage. That's not a lot. So maintain your upgrades, especially if, you know, I'd say the bigger units like Stalkers, the attack isn't as important. If you're against fast attack units, then the armor is very important, and the attack's very important for them. I mean, I'd say the armor on your guys is very important, and the attack for them is very important. But yeah. For roaches, they get +2, so that's actually really good. Stalkers get +1, but they get +2 versus armored, so I mean that's pretty awesome. Colossus, of course, gets like +2, I think. Mortals gets like +5. I don't know. Like, no, they get like +4, I think. But anyways, all right. So Protoss now moving up to engage these expansions. Not a good idea. I'd say you can send a small contingency, like some Dark Templar, maybe some Zealots. Maybe you want a High Templar. Like that sounds kind of crazy, but if you like had a pylon here, warp in a High Templar here, move it back here, and then storm, and it's like, oh, that's a lot of dead dudes there. But the idea is, you do not want to engage this with your main force. The reason being, you're completely vulnerable. Every single one of these bases is up for death. If Zerg decided to say, okay, I can just sack, you know, this is how I play Zerg. I say, okay, I can afford to sack this hatchery. Can he afford to sack up 2 of his Nexus? You know, this 1 hatchery is going to be worth less in most cases than 2 Nexus, you know? It really depends on how it's being played. Like right now, Protoss actually has like the same number of bases, so I mean, it's actually like equally important. Like, I mean, 1 of his Nexus is like equally important to 1 hatchery. But I would say, I don't know, you've got to be really careful with how you move your army, because Zerg really just send, like, what if you sent like 30 Zerglings down here? These cannons would not stand a chance. These probes not stand a chance. You'd be able to warp in some guys, that's good. Maybe. If, assuming you didn't, you know, just warp in guys somewhere. And then, you know, you're going to lose a bunch of guys while they're warping in. And then maybe lose those guys too afterwards. So, I mean, there's a lot of what could happen. And I'm saying, likewise for you, if Zerg has a big army here, and you have a pylon here, you can warp in a Dark Templar or some, not Zerglings, some Zealots. I was gonna say you can warp in some Zerglings and do a counterattack, but obviously you can't warp in Zerglings, and that's not the correct race, so we're not gonna go there. But yeah, now you're kind of stuck up here as well. Well, of course you can use your blink, and you're gonna be okay. But if you had any other guys like well, not Colossus, but Immortals, Zealots, Sentries, they're gonna just die up here. So I mean, if you have Stalkers, you can do that kind of play. Also, if you have Blink Stalkers, actually, if you have Blink Stalkers, you can actually do a lot of pressure like that. You can go up here with your Blink Stalkers, run into here like you did, and that's fine, and then just blink down here and escape if you need to. But I would not do it with a giant force. Reason being, of course, the vulnerability of everything along here. So, Alright, so now he has a big, massive force to help out. Let's see, how many gateways does he actually have? One of these is not a warp gate, which is a blunder, but it happens. Alright, so there's this many gateways. I'd say with this kind of money, and since you're at 200 food, I'd add on even more. So, I mean, you're mainly going to want stalkers, right? You're not going to want a billion zealots. I mean, yeah, zealots are going to be good. And actually, since you have so much money, zealots would be a good idea. But since you have so many extra minerals over gas, you could just add on some gateways, some extra gateways. I would not add on so many stargates just because you don't have a ton of gas. But since you do want to just switch into void rays, that's fine, you know. I'm not gonna tell you differently, because void rays, you know, if you want to do tech switch in the later stages of the game, that's fine. That's fine. But at this point in time, I would not say it's so much about the units. It's about how you use them. So right now, obviously, if you had a whole bunch of void rays, you could kill this off. But likewise, Zerg could just add on a whole bunch of corruptors. You know, so I mean, it's not so much that you should look at his army and say, okay, I need to get this unit, because that would be awesome against it. No, at this point in the game, do not look at it like that. You're gonna screw yourself over. You're gonna add on a whole bunch of stargates, spend your half your money that way, and then have some void rays, and then it's not gonna be as you planned. So I mean, you're gonna want to be very careful with how you do it. So anyways, these corruptors are gonna be cleaning up these void rays pretty darn easily. And the roaches are going to be cleaning up the stalkers pretty darn easily. Of course, these roaches don't really have the best upgrades, so I mean, there is that. These stalkers are pretty good. These even get in the +2 shields. I like that a lot. Just get helping upgrades at good times. So now he's going to Templar Archives. Going to be doing some good High Templar stuff. And that's going to be fine. Now the Zerg coming in here doing some good damage. At the same, I also kind of forgot to mention, while you're engaging, I forget where it was, I think it was up here, with your Void Rays, Colossus, and Stalkers, you might want to consider moving your Void Rays to the main here. Don't use them together with your main army. Attack a different location with your Void Rays, and assault with your ground forces. Now, your main force is going to be weaker. Yes, that's very true. But you're guaranteeing a certain amount of damage with those Void Rays. I mean, obviously, if you see a whole lot of Spore Crawlers up here, you want to not do that. You want to just get out of there and then rejoin to your army. But there's actually a lot of aggression Protoss can do that I think a lot of Protoss players just don't look at because they're pretty much told not to. You know, I think that's just kind of how it happened. For example, I think especially with Day 9, I remember back in the day when StarCraft 2 first came out, Day 9 was all about, for Zerg, you need to, you want to drone up as much as possible. You want to play like Idra and get only 2 Zerglings. And then you scout with them and you just keep droning during all this, and then when you see your opponent move out on your base, then you build up a lot of guys. And that's kind of just what Zerg became, But there's actually a lot of things you can do with Zerg, and players are starting to really come up with things. And they're not really told about the aggression part of it, doing Overlord drops or Niduses or anything like that. So you don't actually see a lot of it in the lower levels. At higher levels, people have had to been quite creative with it, But I mean, there's actually a lot you can do. And I think a lot of lower end level players say, "Oh, I can't do that. It's too hard. It requires too much, too much speed. I'm not that fast." Truth is, it doesn't actually take all that much speed. I would say maybe if you're bronze, silver, and some gold players can do it, but bronze and silver, don't worry about it. Gold, platinum, diamond, then you start worrying about it, and diamond masters definitely worry about it. Start doing aggression like that. Start thinking about the game in that kind of way, and definitely think about army movements. So, anyways, right now it's at the point where Protoss has a bunch of dudes, and Zerg doesn't have a lot of stuff. But Protoss is doing pretty good because he had that extra base. And he killed this off before, so yeah, he's sitting pretty good. So he just doesn't have a lot. Good storms, tons of zealots. Yeah, for the record, when you do get High Templar and Colossus, you're not going to have a lot of gas, but you're going to have a lot of freaking minerals, so yeah, get zealots. So that was really good. He even has a charge for it. He has all the good upgrades. And yeah, I'm just gonna play pretty good for Protoss. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? He's gonna go over to this base, gonna attack that. It's not gonna be attacking that third because that third has a lot of spine crawlers. Very good there. You always want to avoid defenses if at all possible. Now, I would not be surprised if I saw some DM here because if you were zerging this position, you'd say, okay, that's just imbalanced. I totally won from so long ago, and how did you win? You know, it must be imbalanced, everything. The truth is, there's a lot of things you should have done that you didn't do. So. Alright, so this game's going to be closing out in just a second. Let's check my notes, make sure. I think I covered everything, so whatever. Alright, so let's take some questions to wrap up this set, and then I'll take like a 15-minute break. I'm going to log in so I can ask some questions. So yeah, ask some questions. I will answer every single one of them. Let's pop out the chat so I don't have to have that open. I hate how it takes time to load when you have XSplit running. Do you guys have any questions? There's apparently 6 of you. I don't know how many of you are actually watching or watching MLG, but questions, concerns, things I screwed up on. Did I have an overlay up at some point that I shouldn't have? Did I have my mic off at a certain time that I shouldn't have? Really, nothing for me? Must be covering stuff really well. Alright, well, I'm gonna turn this off briefly. Or actually, no. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna turn it off yet. I'm gonna turn it off when I get back in 15 minutes. And then, I'll get back, answer some questions if you guys think of any while I'm gone. And I'll turn off the stream and turn it back on. It's just to have it saved separately so we don't have, 2 parts, like one that's 2 hours and then one that's like 30 seconds. So I mean, I'd rather have, good chunks that are a little bit more even and all that. Excuse me. So with that in mind, I'm gonna take my break and be back in 15. It's actually really hot in my room, and it's gonna be good to rest my voice. So if you can't tell, like, my voice is really kind of screwed up. All right, adios. I'll be back 15 or so, maybe like 12, so I can answer some questions beforehand. All right. Alright, so I'm back a little bit late, so I apologize. My roommate just got home. If you guys have any questions at all about the first three games or about the fundamental game that I went over that I did, um, ask away. I think I made it pretty clear, but of course, there might be something that I might not have explained it well enough that you understand it quite um, how you would understand it. But okay, no questions. All right. Well, I'm gonna turn this stream off and then turn it back on and get on to part number two. So don't go anywhere.